welcome back, guys. I'm just adjusting this mic as I'm on the fly. How's everyone doing? Welcome back to Sound Design Sessions on Monday. I think everyone knows the drill by now, at least the people in the comments do. I'm definitely recognizing names now. Hydrotrek and Drunk Bishop are a couple of our regulars, and Simple Sam. I think the top three people who got in there are here every week, without fail. Actually, Drunk Bishop IR1 Liquid Sonics. That's a really great. That's a really great plugin for impulse responses. So yeah, how's everyone doing? Where's everyone tuning in from? Hopefully, you're all having a good start to the week. For those of you who don't know, my name is Brent March. This is our weekly sound design sessions, sort of exploration, if you will. We always try to touch on either new gear or new concepts or existing concepts and just go into depth for as long as possible in the hour that we have, which is what we're going to be doing today. This is our first stream exploring reverb in depth, but very specifically convolution reverbs. And I think a lot of people, and I myself wasn't aware of how powerful convolution reverbs are, not just purely for their reverb. There's a lot of ways we can use them in sound design, and we can use them to almost create a new world of samples and help create a sonic signature. So we're going to look into as much as we can with convolution in this stream. If there's anything you use, if you use any convolution reverbs, let us know which one you're using. Today I am primarily using Fog Convolver from AudioThing. However, a bit of a shame, but AudioThing's website appears to be down as of now, so my license file is not working, but I believe I can still use the plugin and demonstrate how you can use your own samples in it, etc. So this is a fantastic plugin, but a bit of a shame. If you head over the website right now, you won't be able to find anything, but I'm sure it'll be back up in a day or two. So we'll be using that, and we'll also be using this one, which is just a freebie that comes with Studio One Professional. I believe there is a convolution reverb, like a third-party extension for Ableton, and then obviously Logic has Space Designer. So pretty much all of these doors have got some form of convolution reverb. And like Drunk Bishop said, IR1 is really good. So basically, IR1 is a Liquid Sonics plugin, and they also do cinematic rooms and lustrous plates, loads and loads of good ones. Really interesting. So that's what we're looking at today. I'll just wait 1 or 2 more minutes to let more people roll in, and we'll get exploring Hydrotrek. Yeah, the hybrid reverb. So it's the hybrid. I'm not really an Ableton guru. Is the hybrid reverb a convolution reverb, or is it like a blend of a couple? Sounds interesting. So yeah, where's anyone new tuning in from? I feel like I'll practically know some people's locations soon. And yeah, just let us know your experience with convolution. If you're totally new to it, it's interesting that some people are actually aware of the concept, but they haven't really had experience or still feel like they need to dive into it. So hopefully this stream can debunk that. So the sort of dictionary definition that I have here is that convolution reverb is a process used for digitally simulating reverberation of physical or virtual spaces through the use of software profiles. A piece of software or an algorithm, basically, that creates a simulation of an audio environment. Essentially, a convolution reverb is convolution reverbs create an impulse response from a recorded audio file, and the audio file could be anything from literally a phone recording to a recorded an acoustician's recording of an auditorium. So that is something that I really want to sort of look at and address in this stream. Is convolution, typically I think people think of it as being, these, if anyone's aware of Altiverb, I know in the composer community, Altiverb is an expensive tool, but it's meant to be like the behemoth of all reverbs because it models acoustic environments the best. Now, convolution typically is known for those acousticians who go out into the field and they record the sound and the reflections of these rooms. But that is not the approach that I'm going to be trying to demonstrate in this stream whatsoever. I will look into that just to show you, if anyone who's completely new to convolution, what the difference is versus like a spring or a plate, and we'll glance over them. But I want to use convolutions today in a way that you can then go away and use as well, in a sound design way. And also, this really requires little to no money, which is quite cool. It's more about, recording your own samples or picking up some samples from somewhere and using them in a creative way, not even necessarily recordings of spaces. So yeah, something just a bit different. Let's just have one last check. Okay, I think we're going to get a rolling. So now hopefully we've got a good stream of people here. Always forget to check the Facebook chat as well. Oh, hi from Peru. Really cool, Joseph. That's awesome. Canada. I've never heard of it. I'm excited to see what it's about. Thank you again. That's great, Aki. Chikimo. That's awesome. As always, guys, I will follow up with questions at the end of the stream in the last 5 to 10 minutes. So if you have anything to ask me, please feel free to ask. And I will get back to you. And then towards the end of the stream, if there's any questions or anything that's unrelated, don't forget we always have the ADSR Discord, and you might even find something cool on there at this time. If you go over there, you might be able to get access to something cool, new, and before anyone else. Just hint. Okay, so with that out of the way, so like I said, Convolution Reverb is basically it's like a mathematical calculation using algorithms and impulse responses to create a software simulation of a 3D environment. Most people don't realize they can use their own basic WAV files. Doesn't even have to be anything special in a Convolution Reverb plugin. And AudioThing is good for that, the Fog Convolver, and so is Open Air from Presonus. There's quite a few. So it's an interesting topic to explore, and I don't think many people have looked into the ways you can use them a bit more unconventionally, sort of, breaking the methods. The best way, just before we finally dive in here, the best way if you want to go about recording your own Convolution Reverb impulse responses is so you could bring just a phone, or you could use a field recorder. I have one in the wardrobe behind me here, the wardrobe of junk. And you could bring that to a location, for example, a cave or something, or a tunnel, and then you could record it in a number of different ways, just to make you aware. So you could record with some sort of impact sound, which is going to have a short sort of decay from its object, but it'll capture the space. By what I mean there is you could use, not many people are going to have this available, and I don't suggest you go out and buy one, but a gun. So maybe some sort of fake pellet gun will create a good shockwave. But honestly, I would just use your hands, like a clap from your hands in a room environment recorded will trigger the sound of the room beautifully. Or another really good one is popping a balloon, sort of similar. It's going to be able to trigger the room response and figure out reflections. The best one you can do is if you can bring a good voice to a stream, that's helpful. If you can bring a speaker with you, doesn't have to be an amazing speaker. If you can, a Bluetooth speaker, but bring a speaker. You can probably get an app for this and do a sine wave sweep. I think most of us here will know what a sine wave is. It's a waveform, and it's the purest waveform that most of the waveforms are based off. Do a sine wave sweep, and the reason that is the most useful is when you get it back the recording, before you put it into the software engine, you can use phase cancellation to actually get rid of the sine wave, which is quite amazing. So there you go, a couple of ways to do your own. So head to your environment and you can either clap, you can, maybe a balloon's quite a good approach. I see a lot of people using that method. And these are used by professionals, by the way. This isn't just like a gimmicky sort of go and see what sound you can capture. Or you could also do the sine wave sweep, which is the best way you could possibly do. So let's first of all explore the most common way that the convolution reverbs are used. So here we go. I've got a addictive keys. I'm just going to get rid of as much reverb as I can off here. These are completely down, actually. There's a horrible resonance on that. There's like an uttering. But let's just use Open Air. This is the PreSonus one. And this is probably the most common way that you would use a convolution reverb. This is very, very similar to Space Designer, okay? You would pick something like environment, 480 halls based off actually of a Lexicon 480 XL, I believe. But there you go. So you can blend this in with the dry wet mix control. It's a good plugin. It's quite simple. And you've got some good parameters here which you can change. But basically, if you can just make out this little waveform in the background here, this is the impulse response recording of the either the wave file of the recording or the hardware. So if I get rid of this. I'm just going to turn this up ever so slightly. Cool. So very dry, and already you can hear the engagement of the long haul. So it's really good when you think about plates and springs are quite characterful in the way they color the reverb, but also these are capturing environments that aren't modeled after actual physical things. It's more about trying to capture the sound of an environment using algorithms. We do have plates and more post environments here, which is interesting as well. Let's check these out. Slightly shorter decay on here. And bring the mix up. And we can even load the, as we can see here, we can dive into the sample folder where they are stored. So that's quite cool. That, like I said, is the more typical way that you would expect to use a convolution reverb. I'm just checking my notes. These presets are a good starting place, but we want to be looking at using them more of a sound design approach. What I want to show you is, I want to show you how I'm going to use them to basically create multiple samples out of a single source. I have Kick 2 here from Sonic Academy, and I want to show you how I can use this Kick 2 plugin, which is literally just a nice way to simulate kicks and tune them, etc., and maybe bring the limiter down. So I want to show you how from one single kick sample, you can do this with any kick, by the way. I'm just using this because it's a cool way to design your own kicks. You can use this one kick and create multiple sonic variations of this kick drum by using impulse responses. Almost like you've got a different mic position on a kick or a different kick drum altogether. So we can do that. We can also create rhythmic figures out of a lot of these convolution reverbs, which is really interesting. And another thing is we can use them to create drones. So atmospheres, textures, and drones, it's great for, because you can use a impulse response of a recording where there is a lot of length in terms of the reverb decay. So we're going to be looking at using it in a couple of different ways, if you haven't caught on by now. So we've done the dry piano example of the convolution reverb. I think everyone can understand that it's used to capture an environment. And now let's have a look at how we can load up our own audio files. It's as simple, I believe. Hopefully, let's check some of these samples. So here is a wave file. These, by the way, are some samples from a Fun with Foley thing I did a couple of weeks ago. Okay, I'm hoping that if I go into samples and I load up let's load a kick sample in here. I'm just going to record this in. Simple. Okay. Okay. And this pool dive, let's just load up the Fog Convolver again. Apologies that this is the website's down, so the license file does not appear to be working, but we can still use it, I believe, like this. So that's the pool dive. Now let's just keep Fog Convolver up. can't drag it over at the moment. I believe I can just import one though. I should just be able to import this from here. Actually, I know how I can do it. Create new bank, import WAV file down here. Let's go on desktop. Here's the fun with Foley, and let's open this folder. And here we go. These are my WAV files. So usually, I must admit, I can just drag them in, but you can create your own banks as well, which is quite nice. Say you had a recording from a day where you took your phone out or your field recorder, and you were recording sounds on a certain date or a certain place. You could then bank them in Fog Convolver, which is cool. By the way, this is not sponsored in any way by Fog Convolver. It's just one that I really like to use. So we have the kick here. Let's just bring the kick down in volume. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop this section of the kick. And I've got this collection of wave files of different recordings. Let's check out some of these. I need to make sure I mute the pool dive. Okay, that's excellent. Now, one thing we can do. Wow, there's a 64-second delay on this one. That's impressive. We can just change the end. So we've got a lot of control here in the ways that we can shape our sounds. What I'm going to try and do is create one kick sample and layer it into 3 different samples. So this is the sound of a drain, literally water falling into a drain which I've recorded. And what we can do is trim the samples. We have a start and end marker. Obviously, I don't need it to be very long. We can also do a fade in, fade out. One of the best features actually is the reverse. Now, you don't get this on any of the other Convolution Reverbs that I own. You might do on others, but being able to reverse it creates a really, really cool sonic sound. So let's check the kick with this drains sound that we have. Okay, pretty cool if you ask me. I'm just going to adjust the length of the loop, and let's do end. And then we can also apply a fade out here. Actually, it's too long. It's 14 seconds. Let's make it. We can just actually type the numeric variation, but so 5 seconds worth of reverb. And then it just cuts out. So we want to apply a fade out. Fade in could be cool as well. These are all ways that we can actually shape the reverb, which is great. Another thing as well is this reverb plugin this convolution plugin is really, really affordable, and you can grab it on the ADSR site. I think the link is in the description, and it's really super affordable for the sound quality, but also the features you get. Again, it's not sponsored, but just the thing about Fog Convolver is, as you can see, I can't currently get hold of the license file. I'm using it in demo mode, and that's a good way to find out. Download the plugin, see if it's what you sort of expect and what you want to use. And you don't even have to pay for it. You can import your own WAV files, and then you can make the decision to upgrade. But there we go. I've applied a fade in, a fade out as well. And then one more thing is you have the pre-delay control, but I think I'll leave that for now. Let's check this kick sample out again. And now we've got a nice fade. It means you don't have to do any of this in post. We have a dry and wet blend control or mix control. Let's hear this now. This will just be the completely wet reverb simulation. Pretty cool. And again, we can do the same thing with the wet control as well if we don't want to be quite as heavy-handed. So, as you can imagine, I'm going to use this to layer and create new kicks. And we can do loads and loads of things with it. One thing that I was trying to communicate at the start of the stream is how you don't need to use a impulse response recording of an environment. I've recorded in some samples here, which is drains, flip-flops, like the most random stuff, because I use these samples for a different purpose, but you can use these in your recordings and they sound really, really good. Let's have a look what these sound like for convolutions. Interesting. Again, this one is a bit long. Let's shorten it down. and let's high pass it. There's a ton of low end there. It's nice you get the change as well, as you can see. So I'm literally starting to create like instruments out of this, which takes on to my other point. You can use this to actually create your own samples and take them further. So we're using it right now, and I'm going to continue with this idea of layering the kick with the different convolution reverb impulse responses to impart different sonic character onto the samples. But as well as that, you can effectively create your own sound palette of unique samples, which you can then use as wavetables. As you can see, I've got pigments loaded up, so we might have time to drop our own custom wavetable in that we've created using a convolution reverb, or you could use them as sample engines for virtual instruments. So you could literally create an instrument from convolution reverb onto a piece of audio. I think people don't realize the power behind convolution reverbs and the fun that you can have with them as well. So let's continue with the sample that I currently have. The reason I like this one is it's imparting a lot of low-end characteristics onto this. Slightly overpowering, so I keep bringing up the high pass. Okay, that's cool. A lot of low end on that one. So I tell you what, that's quite cool. I like the way that sounds. Let's bounce that one in place. Now I know it doesn't look like a kick, but you'll see my sort of method behind the madness in a second. Let's go back to here and just solo this file again. And let's try a different sample. Again, I'm going to apply a fade out. This one is also another Foley sort of field recording. This one's vinyl crackle. Really, really cool. The pool dive could be very interesting. Let's apply a fade out this, 7 seconds. I'm just going to trim the length of it. We're effectively time stretching the sample here, by the way. That's so cool. That's so cool. I really, really like that one, actually. And then you can also adjust the pitch. So we could pitch the actual convolutions impulse response up, which is really, really interesting. Just double click to resume all of the values there. Let's have a look what else. So I've got the drains. The flip-flops are an interesting one. So this was one of my, crikey, how long is this? 7 seconds. One of my other things is we can use convolution to create rhythmic soundscapes. We can use it for layering, and we can use it for creating like atmospheres and textures and drones, as you can tell. So this is starting to sound no longer like a kick drum, really, if you get what I mean. This one is blackbirds, 7 seconds worth of blackbirds. An English bird, by the way, if anyone's curious. That's a bit of a quirky one. I think we'll avoid the blackbird, but just to show you, a kalimba. So literally just layering a sample on top of each other. So you'll figure out which ones lend themselves better as you go through and create your own sort of samples. But I think, let me think, what sort of sample would I like to use? What we'll do is we'll keep going between the open air as well, just for variation. And in here as well, I also have imported a folder of samples. The open air one is probably, I think it's available as well, not just to Studio One, by the way, but let me pull up effects, and these are a group of samples which I've imported into open air. So you could use it in sort of like a gated snare almost, you know what I mean? Again, you can change the start and end times and the log time as well. You got the fade in. It's not quite as good as Fog Convolver, and Fog Convolver is just a little bit easier to actually use, but just to show you, you can use it for delays. Let's check this one out. Sort of glitchy effect, which are quite cool actually, a bit like Cyberpunk last week. These would have been really, really useful. Let's check this one. Amazing. I just think it's a world of sounds that people haven't, I feel like, still yet to explore, even though the technology's been around for a little while now. Almost a bit like fireworks, you know, isn't it? And this is also sort of how cinematic sound effects are made as well. So let's pick a post algorithm. So the effects one's cool, but let's pick a post. Let's check these out. Not a fan of that one. Oh, back to Open Air. That is imparting quite a bit of room sound. That's a cool one. Oh, that one was cool. Okay, that one will do. Let me just make some changes to before I bounce. Yeah, that's cool. I think maybe bring the mix back. The length I could maybe make a bit longer. Yeah, that'll do. So there's another cool one. Let me just go to bounce this down. Okay, and then we'll go and do one more from Open Air. And again, Open Air is the same, by the way. You can just drag in samples. Let me try. I might try something really crazy. I remember I had a. Let me find it. Yeah, these are some loops that I had for the cyber stream that we did last week. Let's see if I can impart that onto the Open Air bathroom. Where was this? This was documents. It was downloads. 1608. Snare digital. And there we go. This is another sample. So this is a sample that I was using last week. Let's have a listen to this. And then it's also got the same parameters here. Oh, I'm still listening to this one. Interesting. Very interesting. That sounds nothing like a kick, but it's gave it a whole new level of like body, isn't it? Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm just going to stick with the same kick sample religiously because I want to show you it's all about the convolution reverb and not the actual sample. Length, I'm just going to shorten this down. Cool. Okay, I'm just going to pull the gain back here, and I'll bounce this one now, and then I think that'll be me done for the kicks. Okay, great. So this is, I'm going to also take this sample here back to its original state. So here is the sample that we start with, the kick sample. Let me just bring the volume up on this. Good starting point, always important. Here is the second kick. I mean, how different is that? It almost sounds like the kick's been recorded in a room through a monitor, a bit like reamping. But it sounds like a snare drum now. So when you think you could create multiple samples from one sample, it sounds like a kick and a snare now. So you're getting a lot of body from that and a lot of resonance. It's mainly upper mids and sort of lower mids-ish. Then we have this sample. Now that sounds like a kick, and again in like a tile bathroom, which is exactly what the sample was. And then we have this wacky one. How cool and just how fun. So we have 4 different samples. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim this one down. Let's check this out. And I'm basically going to use this as not the transient of the kick, but as sort of like an atmospheric layer, because again, none of this has to be like the original one. And let's just layer them together. Cool, that's quite interesting. And then it's like pick and choose when you're layering your samples. Which one do you want to use? Which one do you not want to use? So let's keep this one now as a drone layer. Let's listen to these two. Now that sounds so different to this, doesn't it? That sample is so incredibly dry, but these together are Really, really cool. Again, you're getting a lot of like mid body off that, which is really cute, cool. I think let's use this. So this one, if I clean the samples up now, I think I would do a low cut and I'll do a high cut as well. Let's check that one out. So you can make some really good lo-fi. I know some people love lo-fi stuff. You can create some really, really cool lo-fi from this stuff, which is interesting. Yes, I've just seen Ida say decent set of headphones. I feel like I've said that too many times, but maybe I should have said good headphones or like good monitors is even better. But yeah, absolutely, with some good headphones. Let me check this sample. Okay, so this one here, I'm going to apply EQ onto this one. And this one is quite I like the top end on this. 12 dB, I'm going to change this to a 6 dB slope. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely roll off the low end on this. I've got an 80 Hz roll off, but again, I'm just going to remove the low end from about 100 as well. There we go. Let's check this out. Yeah, so it's like an impact layer. We could really, really compress the living daylights out of that, but separate video. So now we have the sort of almost like a snare. Let's check this one again. Actually, I've rolled off a lot of low end on this one. I'm going to actually do the opposite. I'm going to put the high cut on because I'm getting a lot of that from the other layer. And then lastly, let's bring back in our final sample, which we started with, and here's a new kick altogether. So now it's a process of going in your layers, blending them, and sort of now you would mix a kick, but using nothing other than convolution reverb. I did a bit of EQ afterwards, it wasn't necessary. You could easily just keep the samples as they are and then process them as a whole in a bus or something. But really, really interesting. So you've got like your original kick, which you could create with a synth or a drum machine, or even just bring a sample in from, for example, like the ADSR store. And then you can make multiple samples out of that sample yourself. I think that's wicked. I think that's a way of making kicks that no one else will be thinking of doing, or maybe some people will after the stream. But really, really nice approach to using kick samples. Cool. So there you go. By the way, you could do that with snares. You could do it with loads and loads of stuff. What about using a crash cymbal as the impulse response? You'll get all of the top end from the crash cymbal, and that's quite a common one for impulse responses. So that is a really cool kick. It's got loads of room on it. It's got a lot of body on it. And let's just do one last A/B of the original. It's a good sample to start out with, but it couldn't be more different from this, could it? Literally sounds like a different mic, a different room, a different kick drum altogether. So super, super interesting. Really, really fun. That's what it's all about, really, isn't it? Then another thing which I was doing when I was showing you this kick sample was this sample here, which was more of a drone. So one thing is, if you have an impulse response or a wave recording of a room, or a recording, and it's got lots of length on it, you can turn that into like a drone, really. So let's go to, as you guys probably know now, my favorite synth. Okay, this is an interesting patch. I'm going to, for once, not be creating the patches. Okay, that's nice. Let's go over to the old Fog Convolver. We know the drill with this by now. Okay. And we have our samples before. So this is different, isn't it? Because I'm working with a pad sample. I'm not working with a kick sample, which is like obviously got an extremely short decay time. This has got a very, very long release. So using something like a Blackbird sample is going to impart another layer of texture onto this sample. Or make the performance go absolutely crazy. This combo is CPU hungry, just to say the least. Okay, so I just took away the dry. And you can hear the impulse response. By the way, Fog Convolver is not in any way CPU hungry. I think everyone knows Pigments is brilliant, but boy does it like the juice. In fact, what I'm going to do is, just to show you how basic this can be, let's go to a default patch. I can hear the blackbirds just so faintly in the background. Okay, cool. Let's do my signature pad. I'm just going to do one of the sort of warm sort of pads. Make it feel a bit analog. Change the attack. Okay, now I'm going to use that as the sample, and let's put it through Fog Convolver. The tail on that is awesome. Let's try it through the drains. Super long. Super, super long. Interesting. So one of the things which I haven't showed anyone yet is how you can use the samples in convolution reverbs in reverse, which is really, really cool. So it's imparting quite a bit of like phasing and modulation there by changing the actual direction of the sample. It's almost got like granular synthesis type characteristics. By the way, if you get the Fog Convolver, some of the patches that comes with are great. Something that I've got, which we might be looking in a couple of weeks, is a crazy expensive ambisonic microphone. And it basically records Dolby Atmos, which is the new technology which everyone's talking about at the minute, aren't they? Because of Apple Music and Spotify, everyone's jumping on it. But I think what would be amazing is to create impulse responses from ambisonic recording. So basically quadraphonic capsule, and then you have a immersive 360 environment. Vinyl will be quite nice on this. Lovely. So I'm just going to drop the dryer completely here. And we can use it to create a pad. Let's try this. Okay, and I will just destroy the loop and record this. Start recording it again. And now I can turn this into a drone texture. Let's check this out. Oh, wait a minute. I turned the actual plugin off. Okay. Okay, normalize this as well. Don't have the short key on here, sadly. Okay, and then this one here, I could send it to a sampler. So you could use Contact, or you could use a load of things, but you've got something slightly different, I believe. I think every single one's got something a bit different. So yeah, loads and loads of fun. You could turn that into an actual drone instrument. If you do it at middle C, then you'll be able to pitch it to different ranges of the keyboard much easier. Finally, we can use convolution to create the drones and the ambient textures, which is what we just looked at. It's great for drums. We can use it for rhythmic soundscapes. Again, when you get some sort of more rhythmic pulses, that's quite good. I'm going to show you how you can create one last thing. I'm going to show you how you can create your own convolution reverb impulse response right here, even if you don't have a field recorder. So let's take Pigments while we've got it open. Obviously, you don't need Pigments for this whatsoever, by the way. Something with a rhythmic pulse is what is essential here. Let's have a look in Natural Texture. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on from last week I was using some Kickstart, and I was also using Cable Guy stuff. Really simple. You could use loads of things. You could use a tremolator, that's the sound dice one. You could use a tremolo, you could use those Cable Guys ones are really good, but anything to make sort of like a rhythmic pulse basically is what I'm saying. Okay, and bounce this to audio. I'm just going to increase the value. Okay, and then what I can do is go into Files, Desktop on here. I'm just going to export it. Done. And now, if I go back to, let's say, the addictive keys, I could load this sample up. Air pressure, desktop, Pigments. This is what I just recorded here. So it's almost like a delay, isn't it? You can obviously think of numbers of ways to impart this onto your samples, but really interesting just to see the way you can use it. Let's try Fog Convolver again. You get much better flexibility with that, if I'm honest. Let's load up, import the wave file, Pigments. That's it there. I'm going to get rid of those lows and do a start marker change and do an end marker change, effectively time stretching it. And now, rather than create an environment which is a reverb, because obviously we're using it as a creative effect, Convolution Reverb is a reverb, but we can use it in other ways, can't we? Looking for my sustain. Really cool. Let's apply fade out and a little gradual fade in, which is really cool. Actually, I think that's awesome. By the way, what I would do is I would maybe have another Fog Convolver or just another Convolution Reverb with another maybe longer reverb, so you get the delay from this, and then you get like a spatial effect from another. That's awesome. That is really awesome. I think that people hopefully should feel sort of inspired by the use of it here. But let's do one before and after of this with what I was playing. like literally no momentum at all. So it's even an inspiring writing tool. And with the Fog Convolver, it is occasionally dropping out there because of the wildfire. So what we do is change the end, change the length of it, change the start, and make sure that it fits the sort of progression. So how long you holding on the notes of whatever it is, you know. I'm using it here obviously in more of like I'm using the sound design here in a compositional way. So it needs to be ever so slightly shorter. But if you're using it on kicks, it's like a little bit more of a sound design tool. You've created your own samples, store them for later. Now you've got multiple things for kicks. You could apply that to snares, you could apply it to hi-hats, you could apply textural loops to tops. I'm using it here on a part which I could then bounce and turn into a sample, or I could turn it into like a waveform. So many things. Like I really think that convolution is probably one of the biggest ways to explore sound design, because it's less about the approach and more about the sound that you capture, and it's the way that you're processing a sound through the sound because of the algorithm. Really, really impressive. Let's do one last thing, and then I'll have to come and check, see if there's any questions or anything. Impressive. Again, there's a lot of lows down there. Fade out, fade it in. Okay, let's just record a little section of this. Okay, so that there I could bounce it as a drone. And turn it into its own. Instrument. You could sample this in a contact and make it playable. You could do all sorts of things to it. I'll just quickly show you how simple it is. So we've layered kicks, we've created rhythmic effects, textural effects, drones. I feel like we've done other stuff, but I can't remember. Then all I have to do here is do audio, send to new sample 1. That, like I said, is the PreSonus sampler. And now I'm playing it as its own instrument, which is wicked. And I can change it here, and you effectively design your own virtual instruments now. If we add some decay to the sound. I know it's not the best sample in the world. I was just using addictive keys. Keyboard sample, you get the idea. Go out and record a sound and then impart the sound onto it. By the way, it could be as simple as the microphone I'm using right here. If you know, even if you're in a lockdown situation or something and you can't get outside, you could record samples right here in your room, do stuff like this. And then maybe get something like this over here. It's starting to turn into more of an ASMR episode, but you could use them and use them as impulse responses. I also think that I'm sure you'll be able to find impulse responses of actual environments if you want to use it in a more conventional sense, but I really think what people haven't explored enough is using organic and found sounds, which you really should record yourself just for fun. It's a cool process, and impart them onto your samples. So there we go. Rhythmic samples, textural, drones, soundscapes. You can bounce them to your own instruments. You can use them to make multiple samples from one. So, for example, the kick drum, you can use that, like I said, for snare, any element of it. Or you can use it to just literally put a actual object into space. So convolution differs from springs and halls in place and stuff like that in a way that is modeling an environment. And you have the algorithmic and impulse response approach to the recorded wave files, and you can use any of your wave files. I'm just trying to do a sum up there of everything because I feel like we looked at quite a few things given the track list. I'm just going to go quickly through my list and then jump through everything because I did have an extensive list of things to look at, so apologies. For anyone wondering, it's Fog Convolver that I'm using. It's all in the description from AudioThing. There's some really great, simple, sort of simplified user interface plugins. I don't believe the website is up and running at the minute, but maybe check it out tomorrow. The other one was Open Air, which is a good plugin, but I think there's better things out there, if I'm honest. So yeah, we can create our own sound palette using the Convolution Reverbs. Let's have a look. I think there was some questions here. Someone from Finland on the old Twitch. Interesting. This is when resonances are good. Okay, so let's see what we have here, guys. I'm just having a look at your comments. Where did we finish off? Yeah, IR1. Someone else mentioning IR1 from Liquid Sonic. Really cool. Mark DeMarco did this for Chamber of They did it in a concrete room. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I was recording. So I was recording some stuff myself. In fact, if you see the thumbnail for this video, it's me in an archway with a field recorder, and I'm basically recording the sound of that archway for an impulse response. So anyone can do it. You don't have to be, don't have to be Mark DeMarco with a big budget, even though that guy's got quite a sort of lo-fi approach to everything. But yeah, you could easily go out and do this. It could be anything. Garage, bathrooms are really cool. I think the best thing to do is go out walking. That's what I like to do, and record the environment that's sort of on your doorstep. It's really, really cool. No shooting guns, at least not in the UK, but I never try to incentivize that you should do. Yeah, the pool dive was really cool. Washing machine. This technically would be super cool to craft original. Exactly, Hydrotech, yeah. So essentially when we were using them kicks, even though those kicks, I think a lot of people wonder how cinematic sound design is created, and it's something that I'd like to look at in the future, is maybe sort of like those big sonic booms and impacts and stuff. And you would think it was a crazy complicated process around, but number one, you don't even have to be recording orchestral sort of timpanis and hits. You could be recording literally like washing machine. The reason I actually had that sample is I was clattering against the washing machine to record sound and turn it into an impact, and then using convolution reverbs, you can get the length on them as well. So a lot of these. Does anyone know like Damage from Native Instruments? Awesome, wicked libraries. The sound designer is a guy called Robert Dudzik, who's absolutely fantastic. The guy is like probably one of the best sound designers in the industry, and he does stuff like this on daily occurrence. He'll go out and record all sorts of samples. A cool thing that he does is he goes to, we don't really have them in the UK, but he goes to like a flea market, I guess over here you would go to like a charity store and record sounds of objects. Obviously not going to buy them, which is probably bad for charity, but record the sounds and on your field recorder and then leave, and you've basically sampled loads of sounds for free, and then he brings them home and uses them. So that's really, really cool. And you've got the Audio Technica, this is great. Yeah, for layering, you can create super unique kicks. If you've missed that, you can go back and watch it. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Yes, sadly it is mega CPU hungry. Soundscapes, beautiful soundscapes. Drone territory, yeah, there's tons we could do there. Obviously, I didn't have the best sample to work with, but that was part of the sort of allure of this. Is I think convolution, people think of acousticians with their ambisonic microphones recording in auditoriums. It shouldn't be about that. It should be go and record crunchy samples on your iPhone and bring them back into something like Fog Convolver. Yeah, you could go hours deep into this for sure. think we should get an IR of that rabbit hole. Would have one idea would be to have a sound design session to experiment building a custom sample pack. That is a super cool idea, actually. That's awesome. Really, really cool. Usually separate sound design sessions from arrangement. Noise. Okay, I'll have to. Sound design masters. Oh, I'll have to check them out. Interesting. This needs EQ to get the resonances out. Yeah, sometimes resonance can be a good thing because you are basically boosting like a fundamental, which is just the note of a scale. It depends. Like you said, if it's resonant. Sound design transform these different item points per television, a washing machine, or a space station. That's really funny. It's like applying different reverbs. I think you should maybe impart a convolution reverb onto a sample and print it and keep it as a sample. I don't think of using convolution for the most part as an actual reverb effect. I would use it more as a stylistic, creative sound design decision to use on my sounds. If I was going to use it as an actual reverb, it would probably be one of those more like samples of a real space, you know. But it just depends on if it fits. And also, someone saying it's not rude to go somewhere hitting stuff. Not at all, but bring some exciters with you. What I mean by that is you need to have an exciter to strike an object to get different tonal resonances out of it. So, for example, bring some mallets and also, you know, wire brushes for drum kits. Basically, sticks for drum kits are awesome for stuff like this. So stuff like that is really, really cool. Sorry, I'm always forgetting about Facebook and other things. Yeah, Jane is back tomorrow. She approved some speakers I want to get, and she's a mixed legend. If you want to go and check out Jane tomorrow night on ADSR's live stream, that is worth checking out. So we've got just a minute or two left. If you have any questions that you feel like I haven't had a chance to answer quickly, or you're watching this and it's not live, you can always join the Discord server. It's a free community where we can just discuss things about sound design, studio gear, plugins, new technology. It's quite a vast array of people who are passionate just like you, and we're all interested in the same stuff. A lot of the other instructors are on there, and myself, and Tetro is. I think a couple of other people might be, and Ida's on there. What appears to be 24/7. So if you have any questions that you feel like I haven't answered in this stream or previous streams, you can drop them there into the sound design channel. So I feel like I've gone over so much in this stream, but hopefully people have a good understanding of convolution now and how you can use it in your sound design, how you can impart it on samples to make a multitude of samples. For example, the kick samples, you could use it on the snares, you can use it to create drones. I feel like this demystifies all of those awesome contact libraries that are really, really good and really skilled sound designers, but stuff like Mysteria, Starlight, Straylight, impact libraries like Keep Forest and Damage from Native Instruments. They are fantastic, but it's really a process of good samples being laid through convolution reverbs. So there you go. If you feel like you're stuck in a rabbit hole, record that rabbit hole and use the sounds and explore convolution reverbs. It's a really interesting way to broaden your sonic and tonal horizons for literally not just reverb. I think that's what you need to take away from this stream, is it's anything almost but reverb if you're using your own organic samples. Obviously they are time-based and spatially audio, but that is the general gist. I'll quickly just check the comments. Someone's saying, you could do the same in a music store, but over here you'll probably get asked to leave. Can you edit the IRs anyway? One quick thing, yes, you can edit the IRs, but also you can export the IRs. So say you wanted to use the impulse responses in a different engine, all you have to do is go up here more in this and go, it's where this is. You can export the impulse responses to use them in other engines, because obviously there's a lot of things that can import IRs. So anyway, guys, I hope this has been useful. Don't forget, tomorrow night we have Jane doing mix session on ADSR's live stream. Hit the bell icon if you'd like to give it a thumbs up. The Discord is always there if you have more questions, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. I'll catch you next week for fun and special one, that's for sure. I shall see you next week, guys. Have a great week.